Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody, in this Coach Trips edition during the week. I hope you enjoy it. This is about player roles. I'm your host, Coach Tripp, for y'all who don't know. What is the importance of having a role on the team? How many starters have roles? Does everyone on the team have a role? Does every player understand their role? These are some of the questions we're going to try to answer for you today on Coach Trips Tips. Every sport has role players, whether it's volleyball, basketball, baseball, hockey, football, it doesn't matter. It is the coach's job, number one, to fit the kid's talents to a role or roles. One player may have 3 or 4 roles. A coach needs to evaluate what each player does well and fit his talents to that specific job. A coach should not put a player in a position to do a task that he is not suited for, especially with his athletic or mental capabilities. You have to include both of those. The second job is to get each player to accept the responsibility for that role. The player should never be forced into a coach's system. A system should be adapted to fit the player's skills and roles. Let's take football, for example. If you have a quarterback with great passing skills, you don't want to run the option a lot, and vice versa. If you have to evaluate every position player, for example, continuing football, you ask these 3 questions in your staff meetings. Offensive lineman, is he a better pass or run blocker? Can he snap the ball? We'll put him at center if he's smart. Is he a better guard or tackle? Can he run and pull on sweep plays? These are some of the questions. Number 2, wide receiver coach asks, is he a possession receiver? Does he have speed to go deep? Is he a good blocker? Defensive back, I ask these questions. Is he quick? A good tackler? Is he smart and tough? How are his ball skills? A lot of players have a role of just playing on special teams. Jeremy Reeves, a former Catholic High South Alabama Jag player, is a all-pro on special teams. Some players can mentally and or physically handle multiple roles. Others don't have the capability to do more than one role. So as a coach, you have to decipher which ones can and which ones can't. Once you determine the answers to these questions, you then put a guy in that position to play the role on the team. You then explain the role to him so he has a clear understanding of what he's supposed to do. Here are some examples of some player roles for other sports. Let's look at hockey. Of course, everybody knows there are 5 guys on the ice, one time 6, including the goalie. 3 forwards make up the front line, and there's 2 defensemen. I played hockey for 8 years when I was young youth in upstate New York, and my brother Scott, he played college hockey for RIT. He told me about the role that he played on his college hockey team. He was a scrapper, someone who fought among the boards to dig out the puck and pass it to the center of the ice. He was not a scorer. He was on a defensive line that back-checked the other team's scoring line. In other words, he was not on the ice to score, but to stop the other team's top scorers. Not only did he have a role, but his whole line had a role, his whole unit. Let's look at the great Wayne Gretzky. He was a scorer. They played him at center so he could be around the net a lot. Now he had to play out of the corner and get it to the front of the net. He would not be prepared on the same line with a strong defenseman, scoring defenseman, especially like Bobby Orr. Bobby Orr was offensive, so you didn't want Gretzky back checking all the time. Also, you would pair an enforcer with Gretzky on the ice, a big physical player whose role was to keep the small, fast scorers like Gretzky free of injury. The enforcer would make sure the other team would not pound or bully or physically intimidate the faster, smaller scorers. Let's look at some basketball roles. I was an all-state player in basketball in New York State, but I didn't understand my role on my high school team. We were a talented team, but we didn't go far in the playoffs. Our coach didn't clarify what our roles were, and we each ended up playing roles we were not suited for. Basketball players, they have distinctive roles as well. Some are obvious, like the 7-footer, you can put him at center. However, some have a knack just for rebounding. Pensacola's very own Reggie Evans reminds me. He was made millions because he was one of the best rebounders in the world. Duke basketball coach Mike Krzyzewski explained his role during his days as a guard on the Army team. Coach Bobby Knight told him that his role was to distribute the basketball to the scorers on the team, and on defense, cover the other team's top scorer. Bobby Knight told Coach K, if he shoots the ball, you're coming out of the game. Each player has a different role. A few years ago, the pupil passed his coach as the all-time winningest coach in NCAA men's basketball history. Some are shooters in basketball, right? The players that can make three-pointers and 80% from the free throw line. You also have role players that can handle ball at the end of the game. In order to get players to accept their role, I used to tell them every calling is great when greatly pursued. Everyone has a calling, a task, a job, a role to fill. If every piece of the puzzle comes together and we're all in, we will be successful. You must explain to each player what their roles are, what to expect of them, to hold them accountable to the team. I recall what the great Alabama quarterback Bart Starr remembers about his Green Bay Packer coach Vince Lombardi. Coach Lombardi said, quote, some players on the team are going to be Bell All-Stars, popular, and some are going to be obscure, but everyone is equally important. For us to succeed, we have to place our personal goals behind those of the team. We have to pick each other up and push each other to higher levels, unquote. Wow. So there are two important tasks for a head coach. If you take anything out of it, number one, put the players in the right positions and the right roles. Number two, get them to accept the role and embrace their role on the team. If you can do both of those things, you're headed in the right direction. Now it's time for Bible Verse of the Week, brought to you by the Seiler Agency. This week's Word of God comes from Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 10, quote, whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might, unquote. Well, that wraps up this week's edition of Coach Tripp's Tips, Player Roles. Hope you got something out of it. Don't forget Saturday, former Alabama punter and Buffalo Bills punter Chris Moore, that's right, 15-year NFL veteran, will join the show Saturday. So I hope everybody has a great sports night. We will talk to you soon, everybody. So long.
Manager and owner of Cordova Lanes, and we help keep your mind out of the gutter. Cordova Lanes is part of the community of Pensacola. Being here for 43 years, we've entertained more people than any other bowling center in the city. We sell fun for a living. Cordova Lanes is located at 2111 Airport Boulevard in Pensacola, behind Cordova Mall. Come on out and see us at Cordova Lanes Bowling Center. Thank you.
Hey, Bama fans, this is Will Moore, president of the Pensacola Bama Club. You can find us at PensacolaBamaClub.com. We are your official alumni chapter in the Pensacola and surrounding areas. Membership is available to all alumni and all Bama fans, so come see us at one of our many events throughout the year. Our Bama football watch parties are the next best thing to being in Bryant-Denny Stadium. We even serve authentic stadium hot dogs. Membership, event, and contact information will be found on our website at PensacolaBamaClub.com. Roll Tide.
75 years of service in high-tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High-tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than a simple pane of brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Over 30 years, you have seen the orange Beck signs all over the Gulf Coast listing a property for sale or lease. Beck Partners is your trusted advisor in commercial real estate, property management, commercial and personal insurance. Senior Vice President David Valletto has been with Beck Partners since 1989. Take advantage of his wealth of knowledge by calling him today at 982-7352. 982-7352. Extensive experience in all aspects of leasing, sales, management, and site selection will make sure your expectations are exceeded.
Herbatrium Consulting for all your fencing, landscaping, pressure washing, tree trimming needs. Call 850-483-0350. for your free estimates. Serving Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, Destin, Perdido, Gulf Shores, Foley, and the entire Gulf Coast. Arbitrium Consulting is owner-operated, fully licensed and insured. Call today, 850-483-0350, the official landscaper of Coach's Corner.